Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to Helix Plays Games. My name is Richie, and joining me this week is the host of Talking the PS, at CyberChris2077, Mr. Chris.
Happy New Year, everyone.
And also the man without any social media presence, Mr. Rob.
Hello. Hello.
We've got a great show lined up for you this week where we're going to be talking about the most exciting games that are coming to Xbox over the next 12 months on this week's XPass. But before we get into it, make sure you like the channel, like this video and subscribe to the channel or your podcast feed of choice with notifications switched on so you're kept in the loop of all our great content here at Helix Plays Games. I'm slightly ill, so if I'm messing this up, that's why. Such as Talking the PS, where every single Tuesday, we break down all the PlayStation news in the clouds with YouTube and podcast services. CloudQuest, our cloud gaming discussional show every single Friday, where we go deep dive into one particular topic, which is available early for our members, and our upcoming show, The ClickerCast, where we'll be talking about everything to do with HBO's The Last of Us. No game stream last week because we were off for Christmas, but you continued your playthrough of The Last of Us Part 1, Chris.
I did, pre-recorded. That went up on every Tuesday here on the channel.
Yep. Until he finishes the entire series.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to do...
I was going to say, are you committing to part 2?
Not part 2 yet. I feel like for the sake of like the ClickerCast content, it makes sense to maybe bookend it and wait until Season 2's maybe on the horizon. But I am and ahhing about the Left Behind DLC because that is a big part of the TV show, apparently. So it seems like I'm going to have to go and do that. And a lot of people didn't play it, so it's probably worthwhile doing it on a stream instead.
I would play it. I mean, the Left Behind DLC was already a thing when I played through The Last of Us, so that was just naturally part of my experience with The Last of Us when I played through it the first time.
Yeah.
So I don't even think of it as DLC.
Yeah, it's just
because
part of the story.
It was just there with the game when I bought it. I think I bought like Director's Cut or whatever or something like a couple of years after it was released. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, I think we've talked about it before. I did the whole thing when I got my PlayStation. I bought Uncharted 1, 2, 3, Last of Us, and then went straight into Uncharted 4. Mm-hmm. That was like, it was on the run-up to the release of Uncharted 4 is when I got my PlayStation 4. But yeah, make sure you follow us on social medias at Helix Plays Games and wherever else we are. Gentlemen, been playing anything interesting over Christmas?
So little, but so much at the same time, because it's a bit of a weird time. You're not at work as much, but you do have loads of obligations for friends and family and stuff, and celebrating and revelry and whatnot. So I don't feel like I've done as much gaming, but at the same time, I'm juggling The Witcher 3 still. I haven't done that much in that one. Last of Us Part 2 with the wife. Pokemon, which I got for Christmas, like because I'm a big child, so my mother got me that for Christmas. Trying to say that as like a 33-year-old man of like, what would you like for Christmas? It's like, well, I'm an adult, I don't really need anything, but
the
Pokemon game for Nintendo, please.
It's bad enough, like as a 33-year-old asking for a video game. Never mind Pokemon.
Yeah, they just don't kind of can't see that still. But Pokemon. I think I'm done with Age of Empires now. I played a little bit of that, but I think I'm kind of like I've had my fix now, so that'll go back in the bank until probably the console version comes out later this month on Xbox.
Age of Empires is one of them things you'll play for a weekend and not touch again for like 2 years, and you'll get right back into it for like a week, and it's it's in that kind of category of game.
Absolutely. I think that's it. Oh, did I play a little bit? I think I played a little bit more of High on Life as well. It's been one of those things, though, because I've had like sporadic time off. I've not been able to commit to one thing, but I've just had little tasters of everything. So, I'm enjoying it. But after now Christmas and New Year is out the way, I can sit down and really focus on probably The Witcher. I think I need to commit to that more.
Yeah, is it gripping you at the moment, or is it just still in the...
The Witcher?
No, yeah.
Yes and no. So I'm enjoying the story. I just need that time commitment to play it in bulk. But then, like I said, the wife randomly wanted to start The Last of Us Part 2, and I was like, I'm not going to say no to that.
Yeah,
and then now I'm committing all of like our spare time as we'll sit down and play that together. And it's much easier to kind of two birds, one stone kind of thing. You know, I'm spending time with the wife and I'm playing video games, so I'm not going to say no to that. That would be stupid of me.
That's easy husband points right there.
It's easy where it's like, actually, you go do your own thing. I'm going to play The Witcher 3 on my own, where it's like, it's an easy crossover decision to make while we're both off work. So
we're both off work.
The Witchers.
I'm going to go into this other room for 8 hours and just ignore your existence while I play this game. Or we could play a game together. Like, I get that.
When we're all back at work, it'll probably pivot back towards the Witcher, no doubt.
I think with The Witcher as well, you need a good kind of 10 or so hours actually just in the world, because like obviously like, you're going into like Witcher 3 and not knowing like the big backstory. I felt like a bit kind of confused for probably the first 10 hours of the game, where I'm like, who's this guy? What's this person doing? And like I think it takes that time to kind of bed into it a little bit.
Yeah.
But once you are, like, you're in.
The TV shows obviously helped a lot with that, like the Netflix series. I've not
you
watched
understand
Blood
a bit
Origins.
of the lore, what a Witcher is.
Yeah, like when I kind of knew that anyway, just from just being in and around it. But yeah, having watched that now, the worlds, the location, the map kind of all makes a bit more sense now. But yeah, like Rob said, I think I just need to spend a lot more time in it to really become accustomed to what's going on and stuff. But I think I mentioned it on last week's show. I've done all like the botchling stuff now, and I'm moving on to like the wider side missions and such. So we'll see.
Yeah. Rob, what about yourself?
I've been making the most use of GamePass and just going through High on Life. Almost completed now. It's just a really kind of nice, refreshing game, which doesn't take a lot of like out of you mentally or anything like that. And yeah, it's included in Game Pass, so instead of paying all of £50 for a new release game, I just get it on day one straight away for all in my subscription, which is.
There's a reason people say like Game Pass is the like best value in gaming.
Yeah, and that's paid for itself, more or less like for the next 6 months now, just based off that title. So
well, that's it, isn't it? You get one gem that you just fall in love with, and you think that would have cost me $50, $60, $70 dollars otherwise. So that's, like you said, that's the next half year essentially covered.
Yeah,
it's almost like
I wouldn't have paid that. I wouldn't have bought that game.
No, same.
Like I just wouldn't have, and now I get to experience it and enjoy it as without kind of committing anything more financially, which is really nice.
When I look at it like financially, is if I play about maybe 3 or 4 games throughout the year on Game Pass, it's paid for itself, like in that kind of sense. And it also means there will be other stuff that I try, like in the interim. Maybe I'll try stuff I'm like, I'm not sure about that. It's on Game Pass. Well, I'll give it a go, because why not? It's there. And I have it, so
I always try and like do the math where it's like, how much per hour am I paying for like this source of entertainment? And like when you break it down, like Game Pass is just ridiculously good value for when you look at it that way. So
yeah, I mean, look at the personas that we're getting in like, the start of the
there's
year. Like if
200 hours.
Exactly, yeah. If you're talking just for pure like pounds per hour value,
I played for the Xbox.
January 19th, 3 and 4
Game
Persona.
Pass.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm gonna have to pick my battles with them when I play them, because I don't think they're going to be day one like plays for me, because of how stacked this first half of the year is, especially a bit on the PlayStation side, but which we'll get into tomorrow on XPass and on talking the PS. Yeah, but I know they're going to be big games, and they are the sort of games where I will just sink a lot of time into, assuming they grip me, because I don't really know that much about 3 and 4. Like, I know a lot about 5, but they could be a very different setting, very different like, atmosphere, different, and they might just not vibe with me.
Yeah, it's kicking off kind of a very interesting and busy year for Microsoft and Xbox. I think the unfortunate Game Awards no-show kind of ruffled a lot of feathers nearing the back end of 2022, and I think as we start this year, I think Microsoft and the Xbox team are very well aware, like, they can't have another year sat on the fence. Like, this is the year they need to come out swinging and really start to bear the fruits of all of their investment and time for the last several years. And Game Pass has got them so much goodwill, and the price downs on the Series S and such have done so well. But I think the general feeling is it's starting to wear thin, and this now, January onwards, is now when they need to start coming out and showing what they're capable of to compete. Because value is one thing, but as we said many times with Stadia, if you don't have the games, people start to look elsewhere and their intrigue goes elsewhere. And as good as High on Life is, Rob, it's not up there with a lot of the stuff that Sony are offering. Yeah. So
like Game Pass is definitely surviving on the strength of the back catalogue as opposed to the catalogue moving forward.
It does make you wonder, doesn't it, as well? Like if Sony stopped being classic Sony and just embraced the Game Pass model, they'd wipe the floor. If they were just like, God of War Ragnarok was day one on PlayStation Game Pass, whatever that looked like. And then everyone who was umming and ahhing about getting a Series S, they'd be like, well, the Sony Game Pass is that, but it's got all of the Spider-Man later this year. Like, I feel like I can see why Sony don't want to do it.
Their accountants have sat there and worked out the numbers and decided
the bean counters.
I think it's probably because they're in such a strong place right now. The game sells so well. It's like, why would we? Well,
it's always the underdog, isn't it? That's to make the change. Yeah. The market leader, why would you upset the market? Because
it's weird calling Microsoft an underdog, but like going into the last generation, they were well behind off this right from out the gate, so they had to change to like draw attention.
Yeah, I think we've talked in the past where like we feel like they are making the right initial steps, but it's now it's the time to manifest all like this groundwork they've put in. And
I think,
as you said, Chris, if they do or they don't, that's...
Yeah. I think some people have been very critical of Microsoft in 2022. I think it's probably a bit harsh, considering you look at all the moves they did with buying new studios and stuff. That takes time for this stuff to come to fruition. Like, so it's like, and so they probably need a couple of years before we really see them having the same sort of like quality first party IP that Sony currently is enjoying. And once they have that and have it on Game Pass, Microsoft are potentially well positioned to like usurp Sony's throne. They just need the games. That's what they're lacking. They've got the better service. They've got the hardware as comparable. If they get the same quality games, I think that puts them in the lead. And it's the accessibility of it. Like Xbox All Access is really, really cheap. Like,
it all depends how they take the next steps. I think this year is like the key one for them. It could define their next 5 to 10 years if they get this year correct.
It's always going to come down to content, isn't it? Like, look at what's happening with the TV space now, with all the subscription services. Like, in the next 5 years, some of them won't exist. Like, I think in the States, they have, like, way more than we do, but they have, like, Hulu and Peacock and all this other stuff. Like, they will all fold into each other at some point because it's just too much. And
you see it's starting to happen now, isn't it? Because you get, like, the Paramount Plus rolled in with like Amazon and stuff, don't you, and things like that now. So
there's been weird like mergers of companies and stuff behind the scenes, but they still have like multiple like things out there. So like a single holding company will have two companies, both with their own streaming service, and you look at it and go, at some point these are going to merge. You do get that consolidation. Like, I think that's just how any industry goes. You have that expansion and consolidation, and just.
But then ironically, it'll probably be the same. The combined price will probably be the same as Sky TV. It used to be back in the day, and it's like, okay, we're back to this place again.
Do you get, like, before we get into the news properly, do you get confused when you still encounter people who have Sky, things like Sky TV? Like,
my dad still has Sky, but he also has all the subscription like services as well. He has like Sky exclusively for the Smithsonian documentary channel, and that's it.
That's very niche audience.
Yeah. I mean, as for me, going back to what games we've been playing, I've had a similar thing to you, Chris, where I've had quite a lot of jobs around the house that I've been putting off till I had a break from work to do. So it feels like I haven't got as much gaming done during my Christmas break as I have in previous years. Where usually like it's like dead zone between Christmas and New Year's. Like, okay, I've got like 4 days where I can just game for like 8 hours and still have time to do other stuff. But like, as I've told you, it's like I spent basically about 2 days like completely gutting this office and rebuilding it. Like,
is this the part where you'd like me to reference? I like your new shelf behind you, just so you can talk talk about it.
You don't have to reference.
No, look, I like your new shelf, Richie. Is that what you've been working on over Christmas?
Yeah.
What's over there? I can't quite see it. So what have we got?
So you can't. It's cutting out on top. I've got my actually N64 sat on the top.
Oh, nice.
I've got my Stadia Founders Edition. Unfortunately, it is
RIP.
cut off, but it is up there alongside my 3DS XL. the next shelf, which
I like how
the
you
one...
keep having a look back at it, even though
I
it's on
am,
the screen in front of you. Like, look forward and look what's on the screen.
Well, I'm looking at the bits that have been cut off on camera. That you can just... I don't think you can see on like when it's cut, but you can see. You can see my Switch on the
Yeah, I
next
can
shelf.
see a Switch just.
Yeah, the shelf below that is my PS5 and my Xbox Series S. Controllers below, and it's all functional. Like that, like I've wired, it's all powered up, and like the HDMI cables running across to my PC and stuff, all through my Elgato. So all three consoles that are on there behind me, I can capture if I want to.
You've essentially took the ultimate like entertainment setup that most people have in their living rooms and made it into a vertical column of just fun and games, basically. Like, this is just a pillar of gaming, like, in one block.
I have relegated my living room because I had my PS4 up here, but now I've moved my PS5 up here and my PS4 is back downstairs.
It's always one of them decisions.
Yeah, I was enjoying playing my Xbox in here, and I was like... And if we're doing more stuff in terms for the channel with PS5 related, having access to being able to capture stuff from a PS5, it just made more sense. I can always remote in, so
you can indeed.
But
yeah, lots of games to play about. Did you get your PS5, Rob? Did you get sorted? Did Santa?
No, it's on order now. So
right. It's on order. Cool.
Yeah, ideally just needed it in time for Hogwarts Legacy for the other half. Yeah, but I'm going to get set up in the next couple of days.
Well, we've got a few months to wait until Hogwarts Legacy comes out.
Yeah.
Did I say days? I mean months.
Yeah.
Well, days are months. So.
That's true.
I've also been playing a lot of guitar over Christmas. I think that's just I bought some new toys for my guitar. So, like, I got a bunch of effects pedals. Like, this is going to be great fun.
Nice.
But, yeah. That aside, Rob, would you like to introduce us to the...
You've completely...
We have news?
Well, introduce it anyway.
All right, I never ever do this, so let me just look this one up. No.
This is my job.
Chris. Sorry. I told you, I'm not well.
That was so unfair.
Yeah. That's when he said
sorry.
it. All right, yeah, crack on.
I mean, you can go for it if you want, but Chris, would you like to introduce us to
the excellently exuberant, excavated Xbox expose, a.k.a. The news.
The news. See, that's my part. I can do that part.
Yeah. You know what? I'd say we're like rusty, but it's like we literally recorded an episode last week, so it's like the normal cadence of recording.
Yeah, but the difference of how much alcohol we've consumed between last week and this week is like threefold for me, because I had Christmas Day, I had our random Thursday out that we went out with the guys and just drank from like 1 p.m. till 1 a.m. the next morning, which should have killed all of us, and for some reason we were all okay. Yeah. Well, not okay, but we weren't dying on our deathbeds, which we should.
Your wife was amazed when you got up at 9 o'clock, I heard.
Yeah, it got up and out. I think
she's amazed when he gets up at 9 o'clock. Full stop. Like
it was, but I think I was still drunk. I think that was the thing. So I was kind of, when you wake up and you think, I'm good, surprisingly, and I don't know, that just gave me a burst of energy where I was like asleep for 1:30, so I had a solid 8 hours sleep.
Yeah.
And I woke up and I was like, well, it's 9:30.
Yeah.
I'll just have a shower. I did go back to bed after the shower, to be fair, for another like 2 hours, so it kind of did balance itself out. But yeah, I did scare her a little bit because she was like, what have you done with my husband?
Why are you up?
Yeah, you should be asleep.
Like, you're not usually up when you weren't drunk last night.
Exactly. So, but yeah, either way, new lease of life, evidently, and it's New Year's Eve at the time of recording, so got a whole other night of it now, which I've got to commit to, I guess. Such are the harsh times, but in terms of the news...
I'm going to be taking it a bit easier tonight.
No surprise. Yeah. You're dying anywhere. Mm-hmm. Well, we all are. Slowly.
Yeah. But back to the news.
Yeah, which is brought to you by our members, which you can join for as little as 99p. It gives you early access to some of our shows, custom emojis, and our general love and kindness, such as Sedna did.
Mm-hmm.
So,
thank you, Sedna. We'll be kind to you. We will not be kind to anybody else who is not a member.
We are only kind to people who are members.
So, just as a little side note, I always think it's funny the relationship that like some YouTube channels have with like members, and I think ours are all great. Our Helix Heroes are wonderful, and again, thank you for all your support throughout the year. But there's some channels I follow have like a very abusive relationship with their members who like actively like call them names and stuff.
It's abusive in a jokey way.
Absolutely. There's one of the top PlayStation ones I listen to. Like he literally calls the ones who aren't members. He just calls them freeloaders, and he's like, and then specifically depending on your country as well. So if you're from the UK, you're a lobster back. because of the red coats and the civil, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I don't know, but he just gives them abuse and tells them to write in, then tells them to stop writing because their writings are incoherent and poorly written, and it's one of those things you just laugh and think, okay, but we have a good working relationship with our wonderful Helix heroes out there. So yes, Sedna and the rest of you, thank you for your support throughout 2022.
Members, feel free to write in if you want Rob to abuse you every week. We can arrange
That could be a different tier perk if you want abuse. We could
anybody who wants it.
We'll put all your names in the hat. Rob picks one out every week and just gives you your abuse.
Yeah, this week's who can we have? Doc Holiday.
Yeah.
You're my target. don't let me see you popping up in the Discord.
That's something new for 2023 anyway, gents.
Yeah. I mean, I say we've introduced a new segment of the show. There's basically been no news, so what I think we'd do is we're just going to go through basically what games, just go game by game of games that are coming out or expected to come out on the Xbox in the next 12 months and what we're excited to play.
It sounds good to me. Even though it is... Because we've recorded the Talking to PS before this, and just to preface things, there is a marked difference in the depth and quality of titles coming out of Xbox at the moment. I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
and that's I think between shows we touched on just saying they need some kind of presentation. There needs to be, and we said that for PlayStation as well. Like we had such an oddly quiet back end of the year. We're heading into this year, outside of a few core titles, we don't actually know what's on the table outside of even though Q1 is so stacked, we don't know what's beyond that. And I feel like both Xbox and Nintendo, to be fair, and PlayStation, some point between now and March, they got to come out with some kind of reveal announcement, roadmap,
do you usually get
slate
a
of
Nintendo
games.
Direct in February sometimes? So.
I mean, they need to tell us what 3 more Pokemon games they're going to shit out in the next year or so anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So we know that's coming.
I mean, I think Xbox are aware that they do need to step up and show. Because I mean, Aaron Greenberg of Xbox tweeted, "We have a lot planned to show and share about an incredibly exciting year ahead for 2023. Appreciate folks are eager to learn and see more. Timing is always key, but don't worry, you will not have to wait too long for what's next from us."
I mean, that's fine, but I feel like the fact that he even has to do that kind of speaks to the general feel at the moment. There's some studios that can be quiet for as long as they want and they won't kind of suffer from it, like your Rockstars and stuff like that. But I don't think there's any kind of Xbox studio that can do that at the moment.
No.
We just need news.
I just don't, when I think about the IP that Microsoft own, it just doesn't feel as strong as what PlayStation have. There's some stuff that they've purchased which could become there, but it doesn't feel like they're quite there yet. I think some of the shines came off even some of the legacy stuff like Halo as well.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that's impacted them all round. If it wasn't for Game Pass, if everything was still just $60, $70 price points, the Halo fan base is not happy with with Halo Infinite's roadmap and releases and such. Gears of War seemingly just wrapped up. We don't know what's next for that. And then Forza absolutely smashes it out the park every time. But we've said on many of our shows, the racing games have such a niche kind of audience that they'll always get praise and they'll always look absolutely stunning and beautiful. But you can only do so much with a car and 4 wheels.
You expect it to be there. And if you're into it, you get it. But if you're not into it, you just don't even think about it.
It's like sport. It's a sport, isn't it? If you're not into football, soccer, then FIFA does nothing for you every year. No matter how good it is, no matter how gorgeous it looks, it's still just going to be that genre that just doesn't tick it for you. And outside of that, as us three are quite new to the Xbox ecosystem, there isn't really anything from them that's not now Bethesda that really appeals. I'm not a Fallout guy, Elder Scrolls guy, I've said before, so that stuff doesn't. But Indiana Jones does.
Yeah.
That's on my radar, hopefully for this year.
Well, do you want to talk about Indiana Jones? We haven't really seen much about this game.
No, we've seen a really slow pan across a table with loads of shit on it to do with archaeology, and that's all we've got given, and a little bit of the music. But,
which could have easily been either like an
Just a
Uncharted
logo.
game or a
Just
a
anything.
Tomb Raider game, right?
Anything.
So it's developed by Machine Games, which are the Wolfenstein guys, I believe.
They are. Yeah.
So what is your expectation for this game, Chris?
Well, we've got next year's this year, I guess, when this show goes live, the final Indiana Jones movie with Harrison Ford, The Dial of Destiny. So I feel like the hype and energy and kind of cross-media marketing for Indiana Jones is going to ramp up massively from spring onwards. Harrison Ford seems really keen on the movie. Spielberg's back. All that kind of like all
Harrison
the tick boxes
Ford's really
you want.
keen on the movie.
No, actually, well, this is.
He's
so this
usually
is
really
the-
reluctant to go
Right,
back
so
to
this
characters.
is the interesting thing is he hates obviously all the Star Wars stuff seemingly, but he cried on stage at the reveal of the Indiana Jones thing because of how it's his last proper outing and he got really emotional, which doesn't seem like Harrison Ford at all.
Yeah.
So either the script is on point or he's genuinely just realizing his career is like
Fair.
he's
wanted
an old
to
guy.
hand-
He's like 80 odd, right?
Yeah,
He wanted Han Solo to die during the original trilogy, so I think that's probably one of the things why he's kind of like on Star Wars, like, I think my character should have already be dead, and I think that's why he, like, spoilers, but he dies in The Force Awakens. Wow. I think that was kind of like him going, no, kill the character. It's probably one of them stipulations he had, like, I'll only do it if Han Solo gets a good send off.
Yeah. But I don't know. I guess as a long career as he's had, he's probably just got some kind of affiliation more with Indiana Jones. Maybe he's just not into sci-fi as much. Who knows? But in terms of like the game, I think it'll probably, if the movie comes out and does well, it'll build off the back of that success. But it's an interesting one because we've not really had an Indiana Jones game for so long, and it used to be like we've had the Lego ones. They were typical Lego games. Those games way back to like NES time and Commodore, like they were a thing because the franchise has been going for so long. But in terms of video games, it's kind of crazy that Tomb Raider and Uncharted have just done better Indiana Jones games than what they should be or what they could have been.
Yeah.
I can't think
It
of
feels
a
like
good
it should have
attempt.
just existed already.
That's
my
cannot
take.
think of a good attempt to do an Indiana Jones game.
Well, they haven't really
I
made.
can't even think of an attempt.
You got to remember
yeah.
the movies came out like back end of the 80s anyway, so like it predated the video games industry to what it is today. So other than a little side scroller platform thing, like there wasn't really much you could do. Like point and click adventure, I think, was one of the ones from LucasArts back in the day, but no one's really embraced it. Whether the franchise or the IP has been tied up in rights because it's weird because kind of Disney own it, but Paramount own it, and like even now the Indiana Jones movies are not on Disney Plus; they're on Paramount Plus until the summer when the movie comes out and they've hashed some deal out to get them. But to go back to the game,
it's been a long time since I've seen them. I'd like to watch them again.
Yeah, absolutely. And to just think of the game, in my mind, just give me an Uncharted game with Indiana Jones. That's all I need. Like good quality story, good bit of action adventure, pulp cutscenes with big action set pieces. But then now I'm thinking, machine games only ever do first person. And are they going to have Harrison Ford's likeness? Because if not, then it's kind of like, is it really Indiana Jones then? Or is it now this weird, like, what's it called? Uncanny Valley Avengers game style thing where it isn't really him. And then at what point does he just start looking a bit too close like Nathan Drake? Because let's face it, he's just a generic white guy.
Nathan Drake is based off Indiana Jones, like
Oh,
straight
100%.
up. So it's like, you are running that risk, and I think this is one where I think you're right. You probably do need Harrison Ford.
Yeah, you need. It has to be third person.
And
I don't know if they've confirmed that yet, have they?
No, nothing. Like I said, we've just got that slow pan across the table and the theme. So it's like, so they've got the theme. So get the likeness but like again, the video games look so good now. This could be the first time you could actually like take an actor, de-age him, but within the world of the video game, he's not really de-aged because that's his character model.
No, it's voice acting, so it might be easier on Harrison Ford actually.
And then you've got voice acting, so that's another problem, isn't it? He wouldn't do it. I don't think Harrison Ford is voice acting this at all.
No.
Nowhere.
The thing is, I could see maybe it's one of them. He gets approached, and if you're saying like he has this strong affiliation for Indiana Jones more so than like Star Wars, maybe he's give his mate Mark a ring because Mark Hamill, very prevalent voice actor, is like, what's his voice acting stuff like? Like Mark Hamill obviously loves voice acting. You can maybe see him like his arm being twisted. Like, you know what? I'll give it a go for one game.
I mean,
You could just deep fake it. Like,
yeah.
But you could do that like as well. Like, you know what? We'll get you in. We'll take some samples. We'll deep fake it. We'll get someone else, and so you don't have to do it.
It's an interesting one Because then if they did have its voice acting, then the amount of credibility it would lend towards this game would be insane.
Oh, yeah.
Like if it's like genuine voice acting, like the last game with proper voice acting, I think is the Ghostbusters third game movie. No, it wasn't a movie title. It was the third movie, and it had everyone: Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, and Ernie Hudson, all back reprising their role on point.
Yeah,
And
that made that game.
Oh, 100%. And I just think we don't really have that in today's world, but we're seeing such a cross-pollination of video game and movie with like Kojima stuff and Norman Reedus and everyone starting to go back and forth and voice actors and such moving around from different mediums. I think we have hit that kind of transcendent point where they've merged now, but I think Harrison Ford is just too old. And the amount of money probably to get him to do it is another thing, and I think my worry is this is just going to turn into Wolfenstein where we see the arms first person.
That would be a disaster.
Grabbing onto a rope, solving puzzles. It's like, do I want to be climbing around things just on a wall where I can only see hands on a ledge?
It'd be a fun game, but not the game we want.
Yeah.
But I can see like a Keanu Reeves cyberpunk moment with this. Like you keep it quiet till like E3, and Harrison Ford walks out on stage at E3 during the Xbox Bethesda showcase. Mm-hmm. That's a like write all the headlines sort of situation. Like,
yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting one with the franchise, like you're saying, because I would quite happily, as an Indiana Jones fan, we talk about movie tie-in games, and some of them were great. Like the Lord of the Rings ones were absolutely terrific back in the day. Take the Uncharted formula, gameplay, climbing, traversal, big action set pieces, and just make the movies. I would quite happily play through a game version retelling of Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom. Give me the minecart scene. Give me the cut the bridge down scene. Give me the solving the puzzles he does in the movie. Make them slightly different. But just Uncharted if fired, or Tomb Raider if fired.
maybe
because the stories are there.
Things a bit, because obviously a 2-hour film is got a lot less content than a video you'd expect from a video game.
Yeah. Like, let me walk around the museum and find the cross on the floor. Let me drive the tank off the cliff at the end. And there's so many elements that would just work so well. And I know that they won't ever do that, but it's like in my mind as a kid and someone who loves video games, like that's why I enjoy the movies so much, and that's why I enjoy video games so much, because you get to play the action.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
like I think that's why like Jedi Survivor we speak about on tomorrow's Talk in the PS, but like we're so hyped for that because it lets you be a Jedi in that world with character and story and developing progress. We haven't ever seen that for Indiana Jones, and that's why Uncharted does so well. Tomb Raider did so well because it's taking all the tropes from Indiana Jones and applying it to a video game.
Yeah, and like having you do it, which is
that's
fantastic.
That's the satisfaction, isn't it? It's like you get to swing that on that ledge and make that like death-defying jump and solve the puzzle that unlocks the mystery and the secret, but you're doing it. And yeah, my worry is we just get Wolfenstein with Indiana Jones skin.
Yeah.
The thing is, Bethesda, they pretty much exclusively do first-person games. Like, I know you can play Skyrim in third person if you're a savage.
Yeah.
But no one really does that. It's not what they're known for, so I do think we're probably getting Wolfenstein with Indiana Jones skin. Again, I think that is a good game.
But
actually, it's also a game that would distinguish itself from Tomb Raider, from Uncharted. But I want Uncharted.
I don't want Indiana Jones in like the Wolfenstein engine.
Yeah, I want it to look better, and this could be for Machine Games and Bethesda. This could be the time when they start to diverge, because as you said, Bethesda games are very much Bethesda games.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a problem for studios,
especially for Microsoft, because like now they've got so many studios. It's like, right, stop doing first person. Like we need something different, and this could be similar to Guerrilla. They did Killzone for years, first person, and then all of a sudden they came out with Horizon. Everyone was like, "Oh shit, this is the same studio." Like, look at the world they've made. Look at the character models and the design. This could be Machine Games' evolution into something different than they've ever done before, and I hope this is them taking that leap of faith, like they do in the Indiana Jones movie. He's got to throw the sand on it, and Machine Games have to take that leap.
Yeah,
who knows?
We'll see.
I do have a little bit of trivia before we progress. Just because you talked about the Lord of the Rings games, okay? So this blew my mind, and you probably already know this because you're more involved in like the like news and stuff. But what engine do you think the Lord of the Rings games were built on?
The original ones,
Like the movie tie-in ones,
the PS2
like two
hack
and
and slash ones.
I mean, it was EA, wasn't it? So
is it the FIFA engine?
You're on the right track.
I don't know what the name of the generation of that engine was.
Well, like the game, like the game,
their
like
in-house their engine.
yeah.
Like,
Even the game franchise, it was
precursors like Frostbite or something.
no, it was Tiger Woods.
Oh wow!
It just shows you.
The Tiger Woods, because I was reading it and it was saying, oh, like it needs like a big like landscape, like you can traverse over.
Render it, yeah.
Yeah, and it was the it was an
What do we
interview by
have? Yeah.
I think it was the Callisto Protocol guys were talking about it, and they revealed that, which blew my mind. And when you brought up the Lord of the Rings games, there was like, I have to share this knowledge I've got because it's.
Yeah.
But anyway,
video game engines are crazy. Like the stuff you can do. There must be so many good little nuggets of how they just took stuff from other games and shared them across their company, and it was like, oh, we can utilize that. Like how many assets you see in games that actually do appear in others, but they're just reskinned or like they're put in a different location or shrunk or made bigger, and you just never know.
Yeah, because it's super expensive to do it otherwise, isn't it? Like
100%. One of the on the Last of Us playthrough I was doing this week is the part when you reach the bridge in Pittsburgh that you've got to get over, the big kind of like it looks like the Tyne Bridge or the Sydney Bridge, and you go through an architecture's building leading up to that point in the game, and it's just a little office that's an architecture firm, and on the table in the middle of one of the rooms is a miniature model of that bridge. Like, so presumably the architecture firm local to Pittsburgh helped design the bridge for their local town.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm like, they've just took the assets for the big bridge, shrunk it down, and just put it on a table, because that would be so easy to do in engine. And you just walk past and go, oh, look, there's a little miniature scale model. And it's like, from a video game point, it probably is just the same exact thing reduced and plonked on a table without textures.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But it's
video game magic.
Video game magic.
Just render it out at 10% like size.
It looks like a little plastic model instead.
Yeah.
Win-win.
I think we'll stick with Lord of the Rings because we do have the Lord of the Rings Golem coming next year. Which was actually it was meant to be
for my birthday. We missed it. Looking forward to that. I think I got to play The Last of Us Part 1 remake instead, so I'm not too annoyed. But
like
I get with this game. I feel like it's just lost its window now. I feel like because we were talking about it leading up to it, it had like the Rings of Power launched that same week, and now that's came and went, and I just feel like it was supposed to be like a next gen launch title. It was like the first game ever revealed to be next gen only, and it just kind of fell off, and it's like I just don't know how much energy it's got really left in its sales now.
I've never had the desire to play as Gollum either.
If it goes on Game Pass.
Oh, Game Pass, I'd definitely play, yeah.
It's currently not slated to be Game Pass.
No. But even when I've been replaying Shadow of War, and like the small bits where like Gollum turns up in that, I found quite annoying. I don't know why, but I was just like,
why are you here?
Yeah. Like,
I felt a bit more forced, to be honest. Like, why is Gollum there? Like,
it's an easy character to replicate without hiring like anyone. Like, you don't need the likeness of any actors. You just basically use the generic CGI models and stuff and get someone to try and replicate Andy Serkis's voice the best they can, which they rarely can, unfortunately. Like, they did okay in the Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor games, but you can tell it's not Andy Serkis performing it.
Oh, yeah.
I must admit, like, it seems the Gollum game seems to be set in that period of time after he's been caught by Sauron, and then before he gets caught by Aragorn. Like it's that. Have you ever stopped to wonder what he was up to in that time? Because I haven't,
and I haven't really cared.
It was just kind of like he just wandered away from Mordor. That's kind of just in my head. Like he was just kind of in my head canon. He was just like let go.
Yeah.
Like they let him go, and because he was of no more use. And then just probably in my head, no one in Mordor give a damn about him, so just let him literally wander off.
And the thing is, we're all huge Lord of the Rings fans, and huge gaming fans, and if we're not excited about this game, then who will be?
And is there anything else happening in Mordor of interest in that thing that you might be able to discover as I don't really think
Probably not. Yeah,
no.
It's interesting. I wonder if they're gonna do. They've said about like the psychology element of it and like having the two alter egos, and there could be some interesting dynamics between their conversation.
Yeah,
and they could reference loads of things like throughout history that he's learned about and he knows about. But like you said, I'm not too sure if it goes into a narrative-focused adventure game, especially without the kind of the New Line Cinema skin over it. Like if it's just going to look like a knockoff version of it.
What character, like in terms of his character, like his character arc? What's his arc there? Because we know what he is before he gets captured,
at the start of the game.
and we know what he is after. It's like, what's the...
Yeah.
Like, the interesting thing of his arc was kind of through the Lord of the Rings, where it's actually, Smeagol lied. That was kind of the culmination of like his arc. It's like, actually, no, he is just an arsehole. He was just pretending to not be.
Yeah. Speaking of
assholes,
actually, I read a fun little kind of like tweet meme comment that went out about the Lord of the Rings. It said like all the time Sam and Frodo spend with Gollum, like across the weeks, the traversing towards Mount Doom and the Shelob's lair and everything. He only wears like this little tiny nappy thing over it, and in the movie they do really well at like hiding his junk in that. And they said, but you've got to imagine Sam and Frodo spent weeks with this guy as he's like sleeping next to them, walking in front of them. And the meme was basically like, so as the viewer, you never see it, but Sam and Frodo through all that time will have seen Gollum's junk just hanging out while he's crawling from him so many times, and they chose not to acknowledge that and not talk about it.
Even like lend him some pants or something.
I think if you are Sam and Frodo in that situation, you're probably like, Sam, should we agree we're not going to speak of this bit.
Just the unspoken rule.
When it comes to telling this story, if we ever get out of here alive, we don't talk about Gollum's arsehole.
Yeah, like he climbs right up on like Sam's like shoulders essentially at some point in the movie, and it's like just hanging free, Gollum living his best life.
I'm surprised there's like 100-page appendix entry which Tolkien wrote about.
Oh, that'll release.
But
there'll be his great grandson releases those papers in like a 100-page book.
Yeah, it's like a letter to Doris in like Greenwich asking about Gollum's junk, and he's like, well, actually, and then he just
funny
wrote
you
this
should
massive...
mention that. There's a whole heritage. Yeah. Did he ever put the ring on? No, we won't go down.
Yeah.
You definitely would, though, to see what happened.
I mean, it's a magic ring. It's a magic ring.
Does the magic ring care what you put it on?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to save that for the other appendices.
That's the biggest mistake Sauron did. He didn't give himself a Prince Albert.
I mean, that's not getting chopped off, is it? That's why you wear like the bit. Either way,
God, you can tell there's not much news this week on the
okay. Should we move on to talk about another arsehole? Dragon Age 4, Dreadwolf.
Are you excited about this?
Who's the arsehole?
Solus, he was introducing Dragon Age Inquisition, and he's basically a bit of an arsehole for it, but...
Right.
Spoilers, he's the villain of the piece.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, Richie, how excited are you about this game?
Oh, I'm about a 3.
Yeah.
The thing is, Dragon Age Origins is one of my favourite games of all time. And I just feel like I don't know what they do. They came up with this gritty, realistic world where you had the Grey Wardens and the Darkspawn and stuff. And then immediately pivoted from that interesting stuff to the stuff that was in Dragon Age 2 was terrible. Dragon Age 3 with the Inquisition and stuff was I don't know, that was one of them games. Have you ever played a game where it's you're really into it, but the more you play, the less you like?
Yeah, I get that.
That was Dragon Age Inquisition for me, but it feels like Dragon Age 4. It's got to be next year, right?
It must be. What's the gap right now between the last entry?
Dragon Age 4 was announced years ago at this point. It must be around 4 or 5 years ago. It was announced.
Yeah, so it has to be this year, talking 2023, right?
Yeah.
But again, if you're 3 out of 10, I'm not a fan of the Dragon Age series personally. If you're 3 out of 10, I'm a -12 probably.
Yeah.
Chris, I imagine you're fairly similar, right?
Never play them, so done. It's one of them when you look it back. I think it won it was Inquisition got like Game of the Year.
Inquisition 2014.
2014.
Inquisition was 2014, so it's been 8 years. Which one of the arguments against Dragon Age 2 is I think they developed it in a year, and so it just did feel very rushed, very like disjointed. The reused assets in a way not like you revisit an area and things have changed. It'd be like, no, we're just like, you're going into another cave and we just literally copies and pasted one that we made earlier that you've already been to.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to make that mistake again.
No, I mean, they've had 8 years on development so far.
Yeah.
Like,
perhaps they're going to make entirely new mistakes. Who knows?
Well, yeah, it's interesting as well, like where their attention split between Mass Effect as well.
4 years ago it was announced. It was announced at the Game Awards in 2018.
And then we've had the Mass Effect teasers as well for the last year and a bit now, so it's an interesting one.
They could get me back with this game, but I think as it stands, where I wasn't overly... I know Inquisition was very well received, won awards and stuff. I was like... I'd never actually rolled credits on it because I just lost interest as the game went on.
Mm-hmm.
I have been tempted to go back and play it again, but then it's just never took.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, that's been 8 years in the making. What's been 10 plus years in the making now is something entirely new from Bethesda in Starfield.
Yeah. That's the big ticket for Microsoft for this year, isn't it? Like, if Starfield does not do well, that's... Like, it's weird how everyone just presumes it's going to be a baller top AAA game that's going to be revolutionary. It's like, again, not a Fallout fan, not an Elder Scrolls fan over here. I enjoyed a little bit of Wolfenstein.
Yeah, so
I'm excited for it, but I don't think I'm excited for it as the hype everyone seemingly is building up to be like Game of the Year next year will be Starfield. I'm like,
no, I'm exactly the same as you.
100%.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I think me and Richie probably tied for like Bethesda fans, like franchises, between kind of.
I'd say I'm a Laps fan.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
but like, the reality is, like, this new IP is, from what I understand, still built on the same old kind of generic kind of Bethesda formula, right? Like, there's no indication that's going to be like this like next.
It's sci-fi it's sci-fi Skyrim.
Yeah,
which
and like
10 years ago would have been an awesome concept. Now it's like, is Skyrim just like as a game, like as amazing as it was and revolutionary it was, is that just dated as a concept? Does the game, like, that format need a good like overhaul at this point?
I think it just feels with us like, from what I know, it's the same engine that kind of Bethesda's been using for what, like, pretty much
too long.
Far too long. And like, you could feel it starting to creak when like I first played Fallout 4.
Yeah.
Like it felt like it was at the end of its life then. So I don't really know, like, when comparing like this in like the Game of the Year conversations for 2023, I'm not sure how that a game built on that platform is going to compete.
Yeah, graphically it's not going to. So then you wonder, like, is it story? But then the story, I think, because it's such the nature of being a massive open world, it's just like NPCs and people who you speak to, and it's like it's the kind of like the storytelling from the world. It's not like Fallout. Let's face it. It's because it's the Fallout world. It's the Skyrim world rather than necessarily individual characters from what my understanding is. And you enjoy just living and exploring. It's about
immersion. It's about immersion in that world. You're playing through the stories that in the world. But it's like, how many times have people started Skyrim and not bothered with the main quest line?
Yeah,
because it's just like one of the things to do.
Yeah, and like when you're comparing it like to like other open world kind of studios, like the stuff like Ubisoft putting out, like I know we always criticize them for like their kind of production style of making games, but when you compare like their environments and their worlds compared to what we've got from Bethesda, like
similar.
It's similar, but I'd still say Ubisoft are quite far ahead in that front, and we're criticising Ubisoft. So what the hell does it say about Bethesda? I'd love for it to be a success because I love like that type of game and in the overall studio. But I just feel like it needed to be worked from the ground up, as opposed to just another iteration of what they do.
Yeah, there's some things about Starfield that get me, apart from it just feeling like another Bethesda game, which that was my main criticism when I tried out Deathloop on Game Pass. Is like, this just feel like another Bethesda game, and just like another first-person shooter Bethesda game. That's just how that game felt. It's like, you got some interesting stuff going on with like the time mechanics, like restarting the loop, and you learn more, you can explore different areas, and that's how you get through the game. But with Starfield, I'm kind of looking at it and going, Starfield features 1,000 planets and over 100 systems. I'm like, that just seems way too big.
Definitely.
That's going to be, it feels like this is just going to be procedurally generated, bland content, rather than like, I'm at a point now in my gaming history where I want things to be more condensed. I want more polish. I'd rather have a smaller but very, very refined experience rather than this massive experience that demands your attention for hundreds of hours, but is giving you mediocre content.
Yeah,
it's the same criticism I give against Ubisoft, where they just make the world huge because they're terrified that you might play something else. It's why Valhalla's been coming out for about 3 years at this point. They need to keep you in there, keep you playing, because that retention looks great for investor calls and stuff. But there's a lot of like, I think it's not so much Valhalla. I think Valhalla was a bit better, but like, I think with Odyssey as well, there's lots of like things in there, like the miscellaneous like procedurally generated quests. It's just like, they just add nothing.
Filler.
Yeah.
I think in reference for Starfield as well, it does say that they're using the Creation Engine 2, which is an iteration on the Skyrim engine, the creation engine for that one. So both Starfield and the next Elder Scrolls are going to be on this Creation Engine 2 by Bethesda. So whether that means we'll see a drastic jump, because the video footage of Starfield like looks great, but I do just look at it and see generic space shooter. Like, if you didn't tell me this was Starfield,
could be anything.
It wouldn't stand out for me and go like, oh yeah, it's something different. And again, I want to be proven wrong, because
absolutely 100% want to be wrong with this game.
It's someone who's not a massive fan of them. With it being a new IP, that does kind of have me in as like foot in the door, day one on Game Pass. I could just totally fall in love with this, and they're like, yeah, this is my jam. Like Fallout Bethesda didn't get me. Wolfenstein, like I said, I enjoyed a little bit, and Elder Scrolls just never did it for me. So like, maybe this is my genre of choice for Bethesda, but like I said, it needs to do something other than showing off 100 worlds and planets is great on paper. But is that interesting after Planet 4 or 5?
I think
Probably
that's
not,
like. That's a kind of like, we know, I talk occasionally about how like games are scared to lose your time, and just like this idea of like everything. Like, I talk about it on Talking the PS tomorrow when I'm talking about Plague Tale, where it's kind of refreshing, where the game it's very linear. The world feels bigger, but it feels like there's bits of the world that you're just not going into, because why would you? But the game, it is a very linear game, and it's not trying to be an open world RPG. Like, because the Starfield feels like it conceptually goes back to the time where everything was trying to be an open world RPG. And I feel like that's something that it's a trend in games that probably needs to die off a bit. Not entirely, but not everything has to be that. But I think a lot of that started with Skyrim.
Yeah, I mean, with all that said, I will definitely be playing it.
100%.
Because it's on Game Pass.
Like, there's no reason to not play it.
Yeah. So again, I may have overlooked because I'm not particularly excited over it. I'll be playing by virtue of it being like a no-loss situation for me.
For me, it needs to be just more than Skyrim in space. That's my thing. Like, it just needs to be more than that. And so far, it just looks like Skyrim in space, which, I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's more of a case of that's just not where I am as a gamer anymore.
Yeah, there's going to be an audience out there for it, undoubtedly.
Oh, 100%. It's going to sell. Well, it's not going to sell because everyone's going to get it in Game Pass.
Yeah.
It's going to do numbers.
Yeah, it's interesting. But then again, same can be said for what you were saying there, Rob, with Redfall. Like, Redfall looks fun, but I wouldn't be putting £60-70 down for this if it was coming out, because it just looks like a generic vampire co-op shooter, which in itself will no doubt be super fun.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
I'm sure we'll jump in and we'll have a great time on a live stream for it. But like, is the audience? Are we just too old? Is this audience for like younger? Like, they want to jump in with their mates and just hunt them down. But then like we had that with Left 4 Dead, right? And I think anyone's bettered Left 4 Dead yet.
Absolutely
that gameplay and co-op loop. Even like Just for Blood, that came and went, right? And that was the spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead.
Was it? As much as we enjoyed that, would we have played if we weren't streaming it?
I think we tried to, but then we failed because that's what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, Redfall, I don't know. Again, it's just another one, but like, this is where I think Microsoft really need to come out swinging and say, like, look, we've got Starfield, we've got Redfall, Minecraft Legends as well. Let's not overlook the behemoth that is Minecraft and the power of that branding. And like, even though Legends is something a little bit different, it's like a dungeon crawler. Minecraft Dungeons was a great spin-off dungeon crawler. This is like another ulterior spin-off, which is going to have a bit more story focus and something different. That'll pull its own weight, just with the Minecraft attachment to it. But I want them to just come out and be like, yeah, our slate is jam-packed. Like, here is Indiana Jones. Here is a new IP. Yeah, it needs to be diverse and just something for everybody. Because, like we said, I think the Xbox kind of player base has just evolved beyond shooters now. Like, we want more than just, is it bro shooters or dude shooters or something they call the genre?
Your Halos, your Gears, like
they were great, but all them people are now older, and the younger generation coming through, they prefer Fortnite and Apex and fast-paced frenetic shit happening. And I feel like there's that middle ground that's just it's lost, and we need to see what that's about.
I mean, going back to the start of the show when we're talking about like Microsoft, Aaron Greenberg saying like, and what he's saying, oh yes, exciting stuff next year. Is like everything we know. Most of the show we've been talking about Bethesda games, and our criticism has largely been they all feel like Bethesda games. Like Microsoft needs to, I think, come out and show something just different.
Yeah,
like you look at God of War versus Horizon versus Spider-Man, like from PlayStation's side of things. These are all very different games. They feel different. There's common elements, but they do all feel and play very differently, and they've all got their own charms to this.
Yeah. I do think the one game that could definitely do that is Senua's Saga or Hellblade 2, whichever way that is, because the first one was so well revered and reviewed, and then Microsoft has since bought Ninja Theory. So then the sequel was at last year's Game Awards, I believe, and then the trailer, and then we never saw anything of it. So this should be something that's literally ready to go, and it should be this year. And I haven't played the first one, but I've heard nothing but good things, and it was on my list. But then when they bought Ninja Theory, and I only had a PlayStation at the time, that was I'm not going to play it because I'm never going to be able to play the second one without acquiring an Xbox. Thanks to Game Pass and Xbox's marketing, they've done the right stuff and they've sold me on their console now. I'm in with Game Pass for 2 years. This is the perfect time this year to get me in on the sequel, because I'll go back and play the first one. I'll get the sequel. And this is one of the few things I think is different in their library that we know about. I think I'm very excited for this one.
Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice is on Game Pass as well.
Yeah, well, it's their studio now, isn't it? So
that's one of the ones I was thinking. Was like, well, yeah, Hellblade 2's coming out. Okay, once we know a confirmed date, I will think about playing the first one. And like, okay, that's because I can. It's on Xbox. It's on Game Pass. I can just go and it's like, if I like it, I'll play the next one.
But aside from the odd naming convention, that's probably of all the things we talk about, that is the one that's highest on my list right now. Probably under Indiana Jones, actually, now I think about it.
Yeah.
But that's just, Indiana Jones could fall off a cliff if they do all those things wrong that we mentioned earlier in the show.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh yeah, hype, and they go, oh, actually, it's not this. They show gameplay, it's first person, I'll just go, maybe not then. Maybe not.
Yeah, definitely. But summing up my anticipation for like Xbox titles at the moment is just like the same three letters keep coming back into my head, like TBD, TBD, TBD. Yeah. Like every single title with any like interest is just like got a massive TBD next to it, which isn't getting like changed anytime soon. So they need to do that, like announce
roadmap
thing. Yeah.
I mean the fact that they are coming out and saying, "Wait, guys, it's coming," suggests that hopefully there is a big showcase coming early, ideally January. Because if you're already putting out fires and going, look, guys, just be a bit more patient. You don't want this dragging into February, then into March, and And to be fair, you want to probably show this before like investor calls that'll happen in February, March, and go bang, look at suddenly the fan base is excited again for the next 12 months.
Yeah, but like mentally, I'm already kind of planning out my like gaming calendar for next year, where I'm like, okay, like Hogwarts Legacy is going to drop here, and then it's going to be Resident Evil 4, and then like that
all on PlayStation.
And like my budget and time, like both money and time, is filling up with PlayStation titles, and I wouldn't. The first one that's going to get pushed out of that schedule is a load of XPass games.
Mm-hmm. When they announce this showcase, there's going to be a lot of hype coming in, and I hope they've got the stuff, because they are kind of getting. I think they are on the right track. Like, we haven't really mentioned it in this show, but Persona 3 and 4, they are coming in January. Persona 5, they've just got, so they are starting to branch out away from just the Bro Gamer, just the Bethesda stuff. Like, they've bought a lot of studios. They're making strategic deals with other studios to like get games on the Game Pass. Like, we haven't talked about Lies of P. It's a Dark Souls-esque Pinocchio horror game.
Yeah.
And it looks incredible. Like,
well, that's the kind of Game Pass thing, isn't it? That we also don't know what titles between now and next year that they aren't making. They can just throw the checkbook at them, and all of a sudden we're playing, like, Plague Tale Requiem came out day one, like back end of last year, which was fantastic. It was £50 otherwise. Then we had High on Life as well, not exclusive, made first party exclusive, but on Game Pass day one. So there's a lot of value that we maybe don't know about, or games that we don't even know about yet, that we're going to be able to play without putting down an extra penny, which I think will help build up that hype. But you're right, they need their own studios to really flesh out that library and say, like, why should you be dedicating your time to Microsoft and Xbox? And I think when we do this show, I always wonder, like, do we come from with a different bias because we've never been in the ecosystem before? But then sometimes I think that actually probably is better for us, because we're coming from an outside point of view where we're not totally enamored by Halo and Gears of War. We have that affinity for the legacy, but we've been dragged in enough through intrigue and value and whatever that we've all bought Xboxes in the last 6 months. Yeah. So they've done something right, but now you need, as a business, to appease us, keep us satiated and happy as gamers. Otherwise, we will just go back to where we're familiar with and what we know. Yeah. And you said it there perfectly fine, Rob, is you're like, psychologically, you start to plan out your year ahead of video games, and it's all on PlayStation. And Microsoft don't want that, because then when it comes to renewing our consoles and all access in 2 years' time, we might just go, you know what, it wasn't. I had a crack of the whip. It didn't work out. I had fun, but I'm going to go back to just the one console. So
like practically, that's what they need to. They've bought like 2 years of
goodwill,
an opportunity, with like the amount of pushed all access, which is a really smart business decision. But it does put like a noose around, like there's like a ticking clock.
Retention.
Yeah.
Like the time is ticking on retention, yeah.
There's a few other things we should mention, like things like Fable 4, not confirmed for next year, but could be potential. We've got a new Perfect Dark game coming.
Yeah, but again, these are all old franchises. You know, they're not old. That's probably not fair, but there's
Golden
a lot of kind of
summer.
There's a lot of running on goodwill, I think, for a lot of these titles.
Yeah. Well, this is why I think I'm hoping they do like pretty much in the next maybe week or two, they announce a showcase and go, right, we've been holding off. Now it's the time. I wonder, is the Activision Blizzard King stuff, is this the reason why they're not wanting to take the step until that's resolved? Because any move they make weakens their position a bit.
Like inevitably, yeah. Like that must be playing on everyone's mind. It's
eroding goodwill at the moment, I think. Like you come out of a rocky 2022. I said at the top of the show, I think people may be being a bit harsh, because I think you do have to consider things like the pandemic and how that impacted game delays and stuff. And we also we give like BioWare ship for like announcing like Dragon Age like 4 years ago, and we still don't have a clue when they're going to bring it out. So it's like there's something to be said for like announcing games way too early. It's kind of finding that balance of when's the best time.
Yeah,
but it's like when you've run out of things that on the horizon, you kind of need to send something out.
Well, yeah, I think that's where the goodwill starts to wane a bit, because everyone else has been in the same boat. Nintendo and Sony have been in the same boat, and yet we had 3 exclusives from Sony this year. So were they not impacted by the pandemic? Did they not have studios all have to shift to work from home? So it's like this whole wait and see approach, it only goes so far, and I think we are at the tail end of people's patience. Well, yeah, one of the few things.
Yeah, like Google basically spent 3 years not giving anyone showing anything for people to be excited on the platform. Kept going, playing the cards too close to the chest, and then people from outside like going, "Why should I even give this a go if I don't know what's coming?" You can't. You're not guaranteeing even like the big third party stuff is coming. Oh, you close down your game studios. Like, yeah, in hindsight, it's pretty much inevitable the way that went.
I would agree, but I think we're all in agreement. Like, showcase as soon as you can, and like get us back impassioned into the
kickstart the year with a bang.
Come out swinging in like in 2023 in January, before PlayStation have a chance to do anything, before Nintendo have a chance to do anything. Get all eyes on you at the start of the year, going, "This is why you should be excited to be an Xbox fan."
Yeah, 100% agree.
Because I want to be excited.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to talk about? Any other games?
I think
we've round up the show. Oh yeah.
I think just for me, like mentally, my head's so far into the PlayStation exclusives that I know there's whispers and murmurings of these like great titles to come on Xbox in the next year, but like I have no information on them. Very few kind of release dates. I can't get that excited about particularly anything at the moment Xbox related. So it is going to be a case of them working to win my excitement back.
Yeah. But I think that's all we have time for this week. If you've liked the video, make sure you hit that like button and sub to the channel or your podcast feed of choice with notifications switched on so you know when all of the great content drops. If you want to write into the show, I just want to hang out with some awesome people, we do have a Discord server. The link is in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Richie.
My name's been Chris.
And I've been Rob.
Happy New Year from all of us. Goodbye.
Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.